So overall, so why do people do this? We talked about that it's a way to punish themselves, it's a way to get back at, that it's a way to deal with emotional distress, it's a way to assert control when you can't. So I've got some quotes from interviewing these undergraduate students about what, and a lot of these are taken from what it was to them, why they did this, I think the question was, what did self-injury, where did that fit in your life? What did that mean for you? And so the first line up there says, overall, it's a way to relieve emotional distress, sadness, fear, stress, anxiety, sadness, fear, stress, anxiety, anger, guilt, or loneliness. And it's a way to alleviate that. So the other one, the first one up here, this expressing emotions or communication. So we had in all these names, so we've got Sybil Vane, Austin, Kay Quinn, Natasha, Lily, Jay, Chelsea, Jackie, Miranda. Those are all pseudonyms given those are not their names. I always ask people, hey, choose a pseudonym that you would like to be known as. So expressing emotions, a way to communication. So the example of this is, but then also there was the pain factor for me, and then there was a release of emotion. It was a release of pain without me crying. So it was a way of, so this individual did not like to cry, and that's a very common thing. People see crying as a sign of weakness. Either I had a person I worked with a while back that said, my parents would get very mad at me if I cried because they didn't want me to be weak, and so there was no crying allowed. And so when I would get really upset, I would cut myself. Somebody would hit their hands on their knees like that, but it was a way to get rid of that instead of crying. So I wasn't very good at dealing with emotions. So whenever I would feel anything, even if it was happy or positive, some emotions, I would feel the need to cut myself. So it was, I don't deal with emotions. I don't have a good emotions vocabulary. It's something that just makes me uncomfortable in general, and I don't know how to handle it. So when I hurt myself, it's something that kind of takes that away, and I can just kind of go back to what I was doing. The other one, the next one up here is a way to assert control. There's nothing else that I can control, someone said. I had an individual that I worked with a while back when I lived down in Corpus Christi, and this person, their parent, it was a single parent family. The parent had foster children. It was my client and one younger sibling, but then they also had 3 foster children. And just as a way of making the house run, this person's mother was very, very well organized and just had, you did this, 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 and this. And so there was nothing, this person didn't feel like they had anything in control. Everything was set for them. And so what they would do was, it was their way of going to bed at night. He would take his towel and he would cut himself on his arm and he would fall asleep doing that. And that was just it was almost like listening to music going to bed. That was the way that he went to bed every night. Natasha, and then the cutting myself was kind of control in my life when it was out of control. So it's a way to, and I always think about, if you can't control anything else, people can take a lot of things away from you, but they cannot take away your ability to be yourself or to affect your own body. So a way to, so punishment, self-punishment. I think a lot of it had to do probably getting back at myself and making a physical marking of what I felt like. So letting people know on the outside what I feel like on the inside. I talk about a lot in the research about it. People that have been sexually or physically abused, sometimes they will hurt themselves in the place where they were abused. Most often, because it's a way of, I don't feel comfortable about this part of or I hate this part of my body, and so I'm going to mutilate or hurt this part of my body. The next one, Jay down there, talks about sometimes when I'm feeling bad about myself, like I didn't deserve anything good, I would just hit myself. The last one, if I cut myself, well, for one, I deserved it because I hated myself. And I think a lot about about when this usually starts and when it's going on is that puberty, developing into your own person. So if you're not comfortable with your body, you're not comfortable with what's going on, you're not comfortable with how you handle relationships, it can be this self-hatred, this punishment, and not wanting to take care of yourself. The next one down here, relieves emotional distress. So like all the things that we're building up, and when you first cut, it's like all this stuff coming out and all this stuff that just built up. So, and Sydney talked about earlier that sometimes it's this everyday morning cup of coffee. Other times individuals will cut themselves. I think of it as like a balloon that you air up. If it gets to, I don't know if you've ever heard, I'm up to here with this. Well, if I'm up to here, I'm almost to the top. So if I cope with things, do whatever I do, it lowers it back down. Then I have some more fill up. And it may be, somebody may go a couple of days, a couple of weeks, a couple of months between injuring themselves. But that's kind of what they do. If you think about we'll get to this in a second, but think about what you do whenever you've had I don't know if any of y'all have ever had a bad week or a bad day, or where you think, well, I should really get this done, or I've got so much to do. But think about what you do when you're up to here. We'll come back to that. The last one, every person is different and has their own reasons. And Kay Quinn down here says, acknowledge that they are a person and they're not the part of your theory or the patient that you just saw 20 minutes ago. Acknowledge that they're their own person and you see them as, even though you may see the same behavior 20 times, each person is different. And I think that's one of the things that I put that last because each person is different. And one of the most significant things you can do is to pay attention to the person. I have on here later, pay attention, and it even said in the video, pay attention to the person and not the cuts. Because that's a way to lose somebody real quickly if they feel like, well, I'm just fitting into this theory. Oh yeah, I know exactly what's going on. But you can lose somebody real quick doing that. Okay. Questions so far? Y'all doing okay? Okay, we got about 5 or 6 minutes. I think, so our break is, we timed this perfect. Our break is right after this slide. Okay, so this cycle of self-injury, this is how I like to describe kind of what happens in this. So my guess is that everybody, all of you in here, and my guess is most people in the world have had negative thoughts. Either in your job, so a lot of you are mental health counselors or mental health professionals. There may be a time where you thought, well, I could have handled that differently. Or I'm assuming all of you went to school at some time. You may have not done as well on a test or on a paper that you wanted to do. Or maybe you did, I don't know, I've had a speeding ticket in my life. Full self-disclosure, I've gotten a speeding ticket before. And after that, I was like, what did I do? I can't believe that. I had negative thoughts. So I'm going to go with everybody in here has had negative thoughts. Everybody's had this tension build up. Maybe it's been a long week and it's like, I got to do, I can't. This urge to act. Man, I'm going out for a glass of wine tonight. I'm going to go sing karaoke tonight. I've got to take a hot shower. I have got to get to the gym. I'm going to go vacuum. I don't know, does anybody else vacuum other than me? It's so great. Oh man, this is wonderful. Talk to my friend on the phone. I'm going to watch whatever show I watch. All these different things, right? You have, laughter. You have this urge to act, right? And then action, whatever you do. You do those things, and the reason that you choose, so what is I told you what I do. So what do y'all do? Eat chocolate. All right, eat chocolate. What else? Shopping. Anything else? Listen to music. Work in the yard. Okay, and my guess is that you chose these things because they work. Now some of y'all, there's one person in the back that if I said, you know what, you're having a stressful day, go vacuum, it'll make you feel better. Some of y'all are like, what? No way. So this action, and when your action, you get the relief, right? Or else you wouldn't do it. If you're having a rough week and I say, count to 10, it's going to make you feel a lot better. Why don't you write a poem? Exactly. That's exactly. So you get the relief, right? So you do that. And then maybe some of you, now if you are, I'm not going to call anybody out, but if you are a wine drinker, go to a bar, maybe you sing karaoke and you're not really good at it, or you dance and you're not really good at it. Maybe you have some guilt and shame. But my guess is most of you are not embarrassed the next day to go talk to your coworkers or talk to a spouse or a significant other or children or family members. You don't go to them and go, oh man, I hope they don't know that I ate chocolate. If they know I ate chocolate, or if they know that I went shopping, or I don't know about shopping, they're going to send me to a hospital. They're going to judge me. Maybe to a little extent, depends on how much you spend and how much, all that sort of thing. But so with self-injury, it's this my thing that I do, that I choose to do that works for me. And for the most part, the individuals have tried other things or they don't know of other things. But this thing that works for them, that gives that relief of, I feel better now, almost right after that, and I don't want to say directly after that, but it's a, what are my friends going to say? My mom, my dad, my aunt, my uncle, my guardian, they said if I do this again, then they're going to take me to another counselor. I promised my counselor that I wouldn't do this anymore. What if my teacher sees this? I'm going to get sent to the office, my parents, that sort of thing. So that guilt and shame about I need to hide this. I need to do it, oh no. And then this negative thoughts again. What did I do? What's wrong with me? Why can't I do this? This is so embarrassing. Look what I'm doing to my body. And I'm just making up some of it, but I'm guessing that negative thought, those negative I can't talk now. Those negative thoughts start again. And everybody has a different circumference, radius. I'm not a big math person anymore. You know what I'm talking about, the circle. How long it goes between that negative thoughts, tension buildup, urge to act, that sort of thing. And so in working with self-injury, and this is what we're going to talk about after the break, is how you, first of all, understand this, what causes the tension, what causes the urge to act. I don't need to be right up on top of it. I can use this fancy thing. But this action here. Because for someone to stop, you cannot take away this until you have something that fits in the same spot. And so for someone who, if you go back to, well, it almost did it for me. For someone who is trying to assert control, for example, and I say, you know what, until I understand the meaning behind the behavior, somebody's trying to communicate emotions, and I say, well, why don't you squeeze some ice or go for a run? Well, they're trying to express emotions, and maybe it would be more effective to go for a run if they're trying to relieve emotional distress or self-punishment. If somebody says, oh, I just hate myself, well, you like working out, how about push-ups? How about, because you get that kind of pain to it. Well, maybe it's just for me, that it's really painful for me to do that. But so understanding the meaning behind the behavior, and then I can work with this person based on how well I know them to find an action that fits with something that does great for them, and it fits in that so they still get the relief, because if there's no relief, and I'm guessing that a lot of you have heard of, and not that these are bad, I'm not making fun of any of these, because they're very effective, but anybody ever heard of popping a wristband? Thing like that, or maybe you journal, we talked about journaling, or deep breathing exercises. If somebody is trying to assert control over things, or they want to communicate or self-punishment, and I'm telling them, have you tried counting to 10 and doing some deep breaths? That doesn't seem to fit that same. So I have to be able to get, and I say have to, meaning I believe that I have to understand the meaning behind the behavior. And then once I understand that meaning, we can, in that process, I'm going to get to know that client. And then I can understand what actions might fit there to give that same relief. Because if I give them something else, this deep breathing or popping a rubber band when they're trying to communicate, it's like, oh yeah, Mr. Counselor, of course I did this rubber band. It's great. Man, this works all the time. And then it's going to be, well, how come you didn't show up for your appointment? Or they just kind of fizzled out, because I'm basically telling them what I think will work, but I'm not listening to them. So what do counselors with self-injurious clients experience? Okay, so counselors describe self-injurious behaviors as intimidating, problem, feel incompetent to deal with it. Now, I have one problem with that, because I've never known a counselor to walk around and go, I'm so incompetent. Oh man, but my guess is, and that it's something that can be intimidating, and I'm going to put all these up here. So intimidating because you're dealing with a lot of different things. If somebody, and it depends on the degree of self-injury also. If you have somebody who has open wounds and open cuts, my guess is there's some things going through your head like, do I need to notify somebody? Do I need to call, will this person need to be hospitalized? Will they not? If this person is underage, well, maybe they don't want me to tell a parent or a guardian. Do I, that confidentiality thing about it, ethics, law, I don't want to get sued, I don't want to, breach confidentiality, what do I need to do? So it can be intimidating what to do. Plus it brings in that whole suicide thing. Is it not? Plus there's blood involved, which and I'm just going to guess that for a lot of people, blood makes people nervous. And so it brings in a lot of different things. Counselors often feel frightened, repulsed, frustrated by self-injurious clients, thus experience difficulty treating them. Again, that idea, if you're not comfortable seeing blood, you're not comfortable seeing wounds, seeing scars, it can be difficult. And I don't mean that, I don't think that any counselor ever, when somebody walks in and goes, oh, what is that? But even smaller things, like do your eyes get really big? Do you try talking, but you keep looking down? Do you keep focusing on that or not? How do you respond to this? And I'm going to go over an example in just a little bit about that. Counselors need to manage their own reactions of anger, fear, resentment, frustration, hopelessness, incompetence, helplessness, horror, and other emotions that can arise from working with self-injurious clients. And I make the comparison, or I think about, okay, so I'm guessing all of you have been employed at one point in your life. You've had a job interview, correct? Okay. If not, just nod. Okay, so in a job interview, and again, this may be just me, but when I'm interviewing for a job, I'm paying attention to the questions that are being asked, and I'm answering to the best of my ability. But if I notice the person who's interviewing me, so if Sydney's interviewing me and I'm talking and she smiles and she nods her head, I'm going, oh yeah, keep talking about that, keep talking about that. I'm on the right track. If she kind of looks down or looks confused or something, she's letting me know with her nonverbals that I'm not doing a good job. And so I'm paying, what I'm trying to get across is I'm paying attention to every single small thing that she does because it's very important to me, and I'm paying attention to those nonverbals. My guess is, and again, I don't have a whole lot of research that backs this up, but when someone hurts themselves, or anybody in counseling in general, people don't just come to counseling because they want to talk about their shopping list. At least I don't have any clients like that right now. It'd be kind of fun. But for the most part, when people come to counseling or seek out mental health services, they're seeking out help with something that they don't feel comfortable talking to a parent or guardian about, or they feel like they've been judged by it. It's something that's scary for them. It's something that they may have tried to talk to a friend or a peer about, but it hasn't gone so well. They've been told that, hey, you're strange or weird, why do you do that, what's wrong? And so when they come in for the first time and start talking about things, they're paying attention, almost like an interview, paying attention to every single thing that you do to see, is this okay to talk about? Is this okay? Because this incredibly, secretive, close thing to me, this thing that I do, can I talk to you about? Or are you going to be like this person who said I'm strange, this person who said they're going to send me to the hospital, this person who said that they don't want to be my friend again, this person who sent me out of class, that sort of thing. And so that's where I get this, control your own reactions. I tell a lot of my students in counseling, go into a mirror and look at how your face looks whenever you talk, because I don't know when my eyes get big. Apparently they do at certain times. I don't know different facial gestures, but I need to be aware of all those different things, because whenever if someone shares their wounds with me or their cuts with me and I go, oh, then I'm sending off this message of that's not okay or that's strange, and letting that person know you're not okay, so let's not talk about this a little bit.